This is a Dubai Eye 103.8 podcast. Life Balance on Afternoons with Helen Farmer.
Joined on the line now by Shane Phillips. He's the CEO of the Phillips Group, as we have a look behind the scenes of what happens in the job market at the moment. And when you apply for a job, what actually happens? Shane, you're actually speaking to us from Budapest because that's where you are, and that's what happened before flights got stopped. So can I ask, are people still contacting you? Are you still having job seekers approach you?
Yes. So I'm stuck in Budapest, and the Emirates flight starting in on May 21st is the soonest flight back. So I'll be here for a while. And I think now we have never seen so many people looking for a job. I think we can't remember a time where it was such a demand. And, I think CVs are coming in through every platform from, regular email, from WhatsApp, to every which way you can think. And I think people are and I think we're just at the beginning of what's happening from a global perspective with the amount of layoffs that will be coming. I think next month, if the lockdowns persist and we go into May, continuing with the travel bans, you're going to see a dramatic amount of layoffs and redundancies and retrenchments. And you're probably looking at the worst employment market that you have seen
in my young lifetime.
Yes,
Yeah.
And I think probably in recorded history, it definitely compete for whether it is already or if this continues until June. I think you will most likely have the worst employment market in the last 200 years.
Can I ask how that makes you feel as a recruiter? Like, what's your kind of gut reaction to that? Are you thinking opportunity, or does it make your heart sink?
Well, I just feel like I have to do as much as I can to help people out there. I think when you're looking at some of the critical roles, such as your chief financial officer, for example, your CEO, your board, for example, your chief internal auditor, your head of HR. These positions will continue to hire for. So these are mission critical positions. They will definitely be hiring for these roles. But I think it's your frontline staff, the bank teller or, the person who takes your bags at the airport, that person is generally at massive risk. And then I also think anybody who's working in a satellite office. So, for example, what will happen is you'll see businesses now retreat back to their core. So anybody who's working for a multinational in a non-core geography, they will also be at massive risk. So when you look at these people, what do I think as a recruiter is, my God, how can I help these people? How can I how can I share some of the ideas? Because what happens is it's like a drowning man. You fall in the water, you can't swim, you flail your arms around, you make your position worse. If you just would take a breath, you'd float, you'd probably be all right.
Can I ask, Shane?
Water you fall into.
You recruit at a high level. You mentioned some of the C-suite jobs there. What's it looking like across the board in terms of the sectors that are hiring rather than the particular roles?
What's it looking at? You mean across which sector?
Yeah. Are there any industries that are actively recruiting at the minute? Is it your FMCGs?
Well, I think anybody who is under duress, because I'm not really active in healthcare, which I imagine would probably be,
pretty active.
Recruiting wildly. But outside of that, I think you're for mission critical roles. They are hiring, but then even there, you're hitting a stonewall because in some neighborhoods where it's a complete lockdown, they can't meet. You can only finalize you can get right to the line, but they can't finalize some of the hires. They can't onboard you. They can't start. So it is a real issue, and I think you're probably going to see this growing question as to what's more important, the economy or not getting the virus. Where you see countries like Switzerland who have decided that they're going to let the economy continue on. So, all we can really do is offer. So what we've done is we had a free webinar last Friday to help as many people as we could. And we had about 1,000 people on there.
Wow.
And you had a mix. We had some senior people on there as well. There were C-level people right down to fresh grads. And on one of the webinars, we did 8 webinars today. Our highest one, we had 520 people on it.
And what kind of topics were you covering off?
So exactly what you need to do. So number one, the most important thing that you need is vision and direction. You know, the time now is about specificity. So, you know, if I'm going to hire a journalist, I'm not just going to hire a generalist. I'm going to hire a business journalist, or I'll order a sports journalist. Or, you know, so you have to be really specialized into the niche that your job does from an industry and function perspective. So that's one. Number two is really how should you get an interview, and just covering, you know, how do you create a power network, or how do you actually start to get in front of decision makers? Because unfortunately, whether you're a fresh grad or you're a CEO and everybody in between, you're most likely not meeting with someone who can say you're hired. You're either meeting with a headhunter, you're applying to an online job, you might be meeting a junior HR person. The dialogue has to take place with someone who can say you're hired. So part of it is helping people get in front of someone who can say you're hired. And then the last two pieces is, you know, how do you interview? And, you know, some of the common questions like, tell me about yourself, which I have a certain antipathy for, and have actually made a video called The Declaration of War on that particular question on my YouTube.
Come on, give us the headlines. Why all the hatred for that question?
Oh, well, in a nutshell, first of all, it's the most common question. So 90% chance you're going to get that question. Oh. But in the very least, your assessment process should separate top performers from average performers to con men. What happens with the question, tell me about yourself, is someone who's a con man or a con person, a fraudster, will do better on that question than a top performer, because they would have prepared it, and they would have had a certain cadence to the answer. And a top performer who's not actually looking for a job probably will make the answer up on the spot. So you now have an assessment process that's giving an advantage to a fraudster and giving a disadvantage to a top performer. So it's clearly a debunked assessment process. It shouldn't be part of your repertoire. Unless you're a chairman or CEO, you're not a trained assessor. But if you're a trained assessor, you should be ashamed. It's just a shame that I'm trying to choose my words carefully. But it's not a positive thing if you're using that question. Yeah. Anyway, you know, as a candidate, you're going to get it, so you should be prepared for it. So how is the best and the most effective way to answer that question, for example, we'll go through. And then the next piece that you also need is your salary negotiation. How should you approach salary negotiation, and what are some of the tactics you can do? And what's happening on the other side of the desk. So, and also a big part of it is just shining a bit of a light as to, you know, once you start your application process, what's happening on the other side of the desk, and how do you manage that? So those are some of the core pieces. It's almost like, I hate to say it, but, you know, there's career criminals out there, and, you know, getting away with murder is not so much about, you know, hiding the body, but understanding what the police are doing on their side of the investigation. Yeah, what's the police process? And so a lot of people don't understand what's the HR processes. What are you running through? So just illuminating that to them. Of course, we only have we're doing 3 this Friday, which will be at 9 a.m., 1 p.m., and 6 p.m. Dubai time. So you have 3 sessions.
And what's the best way of kind of tuning into those and signing up?
Just send me an email to tpg@tpgleadership.com. So the name of our firm is the Phillips Group. So T for Tony, P for Papa, G for George, tpg@tpgleadership.com. I'll probably get an easier email next week. It's progressive, but, you know, we just weren't set up for this. We were just trying to help. So you can also we also have a YouTube channel called Own My Career, where we're just putting up all the advice for free as well. So we're just making little videos and saying, look, this is how you deal with this, this is how you deal with that. And then we have an Own My Career Facebook and as well. So, awesome. You know, take ownership of your career is kind of the thought.
Shane, for anyone who is currently out of work and is looking, what should they be doing right now, this week, to get themselves in the best possible position?
Right. So you have to realize that your CV is not working. And if you don't, you'll realize that very quickly. So you're going to go and you're going to apply to many jobs. You won't actually get much of a response. If you do, you're pretty lucky. So you have to use other tactics. So as I said at the beginning of the call, it's about specificity. So the first thing you really want to do is fall into your niche, and don't. A lot of people think that more motion creates opportunity, and they try to apply to 1,000 jobs. Mm-hmm. And if you're not qualified for those jobs, you're just wasting your time. So you really want to figure out where are you most competitive, and then forget about the job postings, and then really start to look at the market. So if I was a radio jockey, for example, I would list all the radio stations in UAE, in Saudi, in Oman, in Lebanon, in Jordan, and whatever. If I wanted to go to Australia or England, whatever the countries were that I wanted to live in, and then write out who's the director of programming, what are the shows that they have, is there a particular radio station that it seems like my type of show would
my
fit
vibe.
on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and really get specific, and then call those people up, and don't tell them you're looking for a job at that particular moment, and say, hey, I realize you guys just launched 2 new shows, mm-hmm. And I really liked that last one you did. I just wanted to come and talk, just would love, obviously you can't see them face to face because it's COVID-19, so you'd say, let's have a Zoom call. I'd love to just talk about the industry and what are some of the trends. And can you believe that some of these guys running podcasts from our home are actually taking market share from us? Mm-hmm. What do you see as the future of the radio market? And then have a chat with them as a peer-to-peer, demonstrating intellectual curiosity for your profession, specificity for your particular niche. And once you have that peer-to-peer dialogue, you start to create those relationships. And then you would suss out if there's an opportunity there or not during the dialogue. Whereas, when you get on the call with the person and they're saying, oh, we just lost our broadcast license and I'm packing up my stuff in a box, well, they're probably not going to have a job for you. But if you're like, yeah, you know what, we're just launching this new career show and it's really taking off, but we actually need some help, oddly. I don't know if you know anyone for this role.
Ta-da!
And there you go. Right, and so I think, yeah.
It's relationships then now. While there might not be anyone actually kind of closing on jobs, this is the time to be building those communications, getting the feelers out there, and through all channels, I presume, across all platforms. It's not a time to be shy.
Yeah, this is the time to be specific about what your niche is, to take advantage of people being home isolated, to build relationships, to talk to the people, and then understand what are the new trends, what are the industry trends, what are the global trends, the local trends, where is your market today and where is it going to be, and start to have those kind of visionary, strategic, directional discussions. And then if you also have any innovative ideas, like, hey, here's 3 things I think you could do to boost your ad sales on a radio show, or here's 3 things that my friend did that, he were really successful to monetize the show. Or how do you use cross-platform, whatever the idea is. And so this is a great opportunity to do that. And there will be, there are going to be opportunities, as we said at the beginning, in critical roles. They still will be hiring. You will see some layoffs coming. The worst of it hasn't come, so I think you also need to psychologically prepare yourself. And that's another big part, and that's one of the courses that we also do, is how to build up your resilience. Because what's going to happen, if you're nervous now, it's going to be much worse next month. I'm not thinking about the Middle East. This is a global phenomenon. So, when you're looking at this daunting market, you're going to need to use more innovative techniques. You're going to have to use more aggressive approaches. And the traditional, I'm going to send my CV into this online job ad, is not going to fly.
Now, we've already established that you're not a massive fan of the CV. Obsolete was the word you used. So a lot of people are using this time to perhaps work on both their CV and their online profile as well. As a recruiter, as someone who is sent numerous CVs, far too many for the jobs you have, I'm sure, what does a good CV actually look like? And how can people, if they are required to have one to apply for jobs, to be a successful part of that process, what should be on that document?
So what we did in a section on the webinar, we changed it from CV to personal branding documents or personal branding items, because now your LinkedIn is actually more relevant probably than your CV. And what you really want to do is understand that if you're really going to focus on your CV, I think you do need to have a CV. It is a mandatory part of the process, but you have to realize that it's the least effective part of your process. So when you submit your CV, it's going to go into a database. The database will have some type of data crawler that when the HR person types up your job, is going to pull, because there's 3,000 people who applied, it's going to pull one of those CVs. So you're going to need to have it written very specifically for the job you're applying for. You need the title of the job in there. You need the buzzwords, and you need results. What were the results you delivered, and results articulated in numbers? Then, I would say look at across all your social media platforms and professionalize them all and make sure that everything is skewed towards that one role. So if somebody writes in financial accountant Dubai, your profile comes up, either your Instagram, your Facebook, your LinkedIn. You could use SlideShare is also a good way. Make a PowerPoint about your job and put that up on SlideShare. And I think that's really how you have to look at it. And I think the new CV is now about creating thought leadership. So you create a short document that says, this is how, so if I'm a head of HR, create a document that says, this is how you should restructure your FMCG company during a crisis. These are the departments you can cut from first. These are the departments you can cut from last. And, submit that. Or I'm a finance director. Here's 3 finance technologies you can implement to reduce your costs. I'm an operations director. Here's 3 things you can do to create efficiency in a crisis. I'm a talent acquisition person. This is how you should manage your talent brand in the COVID-19 crisis. And then you release those short essays, like 1,500 words. You might even just pay a graphic designer, a little bit just to touch it up, make it look more professional. And then you post that on your LinkedIn, post that on your thing, post it on your Facebook, send it around, email it to the people in your power network as we went through before and said, hey, here's a little paper I wrote. Hope you like it. And just start sharing that information and bring visibility to your skill set. That will be much more effective than a CV, because CVs are pretty boring. People are sick of looking at them. And, it's just not the way to go.
Well, that's interesting. It is interesting because I think a lot of people feel, and I would include myself in this, if I was in that situation, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to spend some time, just tarting it up, for want of a better phrase, and yes, maybe getting it designed nicely. But I think the key of this whole hour is the specificity of it all. So making sure that every single document you have is a living, breathing document specific to the exact role or company, perhaps more likely rather than role, given the current climate that you're looking to work with. Now, when it comes to LinkedIn, do you have any kind of hidden tools that you like on it that you feel could be particularly beneficial that we don't know about? Or how do you think we can best leverage it for, your personal branding, but also for actually getting a job?
Well, I think one is there's the LinkedIn group. So if if there's a group for your particular profession, you should join it. You could also then, if you want a sub-niche, then make a group for, you could be like CFOs of FMCG companies or a CFO for retail. I mean, it's a nightmare if you're in retail right now because they're closing the malls, etc. So, make that sub-niche and reach out to 5, 6 of the heavyweight players and say, hey, guys, can you guys join my LinkedIn? Why don't we make a LinkedIn and just share information together? You can also do the same thing on WhatsApp. And the other thing is you can post videos. So if you want to make a short video of yourself, not everybody is pro video. That is a good way as well because people can, open your LinkedIn, then they can see you talking. If you're passionate, you're driven, you're insightful, you're knowledgeable about your profession, that's going to go a long way. And then you can also post any articles that you have on your LinkedIn. I think the other thing that you can do is make sure that you have 2 things on your LinkedIn profile, which will be brands and results. So wherever you work for big brands, if I work with Coca-Cola or I work with Apple or Yahoo or whatever the big brand is, put that there. And if I had a result, what was it? And you can use ratios or percentages.
Yeah,
so
really
say,
quantify it.
Yes, without sacrificing your integrity. I mean, don't put anything up there that you're not supposed to. But you can say 15% increase or whatever, which really not telling anything else, but using numbers. And then I think you also want to start connecting through LinkedIn with the other top people in your profession. So, if you're a radio jockey, who are the other top 20 radio jockeys in the region? Connect with them. Who are the top 10 radio jockeys in New York and London and wherever you want to go? So start to build that influencer network as well. And then if you can't connect with any of those influencers, do an article with them. Even call them on the phone. You can record the phone call. You can release that as a podcast. And then if you have, what's that guy Stern in New York?
Yeah.
You did a podcast with him, and he promotes it on his LinkedIn. All of a sudden, you're going to be, the next greatest thing since sliced bread.
Now, Shane, all of your advice so far has been based on being proactive, getting busy, reaching out. But I do think that when you've got high confidence, that's easy to do. But if you've been knocked back and are feeling down and dejected, it's a lot harder to get that momentum, that motivation. Do you have a bit of a cheerleader cry for anyone who's feeling a bit like that?
Yeah, so this is normal. This is what the job market will do to you. And, it can become quite, it can be extremely severe to the point where, people can take terminal decisions. I mean, they can become so depressed. So if you're feeling really depressed, don't be shy about getting a medical, a professional health care worker to it's better than some of the other outcomes, which I don't think I'm allowed to say on the radio. But what the other thing is that what you can do is your self-esteem gets pummeled. So, if you want to build your self-esteem, do esteemable things. You can do something for charity. You can do something to help another person. Get out of yourself. That's one. Two, you can start to create, certain infrastructure around your process. So one, especially if you're self-isolating, you're at home, you have to use your calendar and you have to regimentally put in, this first, I'm going to wake up at 5:30 a.m. I'll have my breakfast and shower at 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. I'm researching market trends. From 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., I'm doing my target list and talent map. From 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., I'm sending out my emails and my WhatsApp messages, and I'm reaching out to people. Then I'm going to schedule a couple Zoom calls in the day. So, all your job search tasks, you then automatically pre-book them into your calendar. So when you wake up, you don't think, because thinking is what gets you depressed. Action is what gets you results. Results is what gets you a job. So thinking is very bad. Do not think. Success is a program of action. You have to really schedule your day so you're like a racehorse out of the gates. Boom.
Go.
Knock off. Yeah, and you monotask, because also when you're overwhelmed and you're like, oh my God, my mortgage payment's coming out, I'm not getting paid, my da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and there's so much, don't think. You have to monotask. Okay, first do my market trend and just focus on one thing at a time. That's really gonna help you a lot. The other thing is to make time for some diet or exercise. Even if you go on YouTube, there's a lot of workouts you can do in your home. Do a 10-minute, 15-minute little workout, get the blood flowing. It's going to work wonders for your attitude. It's really going to make you feel better. And then also watch your diet, because when your vitamin C gets low, your vitamin D is going to get low because you're stuck inside. And your vitamin Bs get low. If all three of those get low together, you can have an induced depression just from your vitamin state. So, you might want to order some, make sure you're having the right level of vitamins. You might need a vitamin D supplement if you haven't been outside.
Most people
and that
do
also
anyway.
will help.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is try to stay away. If you're going to have an interview, say you have an interview at 4 p.m., do not eat a heavy meal with meat or animal protein, because animal protein also is going to throw your glucose levels off. And it also gives you that slump. It can also help induce, it can actually make your depression worse. So you want to keep your blood sugar levels stable. You want to get your vitamins in. You want your exercise in. You want a clear schedule. You want to monotask. I don't know if this is too much, but it's successful people, they put a lot of work into it. And then the other thing is when you wake up, if you're religious, pray, make a gratitude list. And just take that 30 seconds, write the things you're grateful for. These are all exercises. There's so many things you can do that really make sure you're in a positive mental attitude. And successful people, when they wake up in the morning, they will have a routine that drives their positive mental attitude. You have to take control of that.
Shane, thank you so much. I think that's really, really wise words and a very useful reset for anyone who is feeling a bit down at the moment. So, Shane, thank you so much. Just remind us of how people can be joining the webinars over the weekend.
Go to tpg@tpgleadership.com, and you can also connect with me on WhatsApp on my mobile, which is +97 50 940 7537. I'm really happy to help. And also you can connect with us on our Facebook, which is Own My Career. And you connect with us on LinkedIn. And you can also see our YouTube videos on the Own My Career YouTube channel and the Phillips Group YouTube channel, which is what the email stands for, TPG, which is the Phillips Group.
Brilliant, Shane. Thank you so much. Hoping you get back to Dubai sooner rather than later. But until then, stay home and stay safe, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. Bye
Take
for
care.
now.
Bye.
You've been listening to a Dubai Eye 103.8 podcast. To enjoy lots more from Dubai Eye in the United Arab Emirates, just go to DubaiEye1038.com or find them wherever you normally get your podcasts.